Hi folks, today we're going to talk Chapter 8, Verbal Delivery. With verbal delivery, we're going to talk about the words that we choose to use, the language techniques that we utilize to evoke the senses, and some vocal strategies to enhance delivery. But first, I would love for you to reflect about a time when you misspoke or you could have used your words better. We've all been there, whether it's a fight with parents or a friend. Maybe we were exhausted and we misspoke, but how could you have used your words better? Our word choice and the importance of language helps us to relate with others and also helps us create our sense of reality. Language gives meaning to events, to experiences, and they are the tools of the speaker's craft. Now, our book talks about connotative and denotative meanings. There is a denotative or dictionary definition of words that we choose to use, but there's also a connotative meaning. These meanings are suggested by associations, emotional triggers. They're often related to popular culture or events and common experiences among people. And as we think about the power of words, remember language is one of the most influential and powerful aspects of our daily lives. It can impact how we feel about people and our realities that we find ourselves in. And storytelling is a great way to connect with other people. Good stories and good speakers use clear sequences of timeline, use emotion or drama or pathos very intentionally, and create vivid imagery in the stories that we choose to tell. And stories help us to connect to ideas and lived experiences. Now, when we think about the verbal delivery of our stories, of our messages, verbal delivery is how you use words, tone, and voice to connect with your audience. Great speakers are able to combine language and vocal performance in order to engage. If we think about podcasters and influencers, they're people that capture our attention because of what they say, but also how they say it. So podcasters use emotion and imagery with their voices. And so language itself creates that sense of imagery. It's more than just words being put together, but it's helping the audience see, hear, feel, and express the story. There's an aesthetic aspect to storytelling about creating beautiful images with our words. Now, here on the right-hand side, I've got a very detailed paragraph about an old bookstore. It wasn't just dusty, it was a living, breathing entity of forgotten stories. They are hung thick with the dry, sweet scents of aging paper and a hint of leather. And you can continue to read that description, which is using very vivid sense words. And thinking about that description, I utilized Canva AI and I put the description to create an image. And again, that's the goal that we have, to create this image in the mind of our audience members. Vivid language is all about those sense words. Again, sight, sound, taste, smell, the smudged window, rolling clouds, green sky. The more descriptive we are, the more concrete we make those ideas. When you think about it, how would you describe your favorite food so that we can actually taste it? Not just say, hey, I love soup because it's warm, but to be able to describe the layers of flavors that you feel, the connection or the nostalgia that's associated with it. So think about that as you're crafting your next speech. Language creates social reality. Language is not neutral, and it reflects who you are. How you choose words can definitely set a tone or impact what your audience thinks about you. So you want to make sure you're carefully choosing words that represent you. Now, when you're delivering a message, you don't want to necessarily just use flowery words for the sake of sounding smart. You sometimes want to use and choose simple language to be genuine with the people that you're trying to talk to. So your message doesn't become this jumbled circle of ideas, but rather a straight line. Communicate clearly and speak in ways that your audience expects you to speak. Again, use concrete and precise language. You want to avoid miscommunicating, being general with our description. If I talked about my dog, again, based on our previous experiences, we might imagine a different type of dog in our heads. So be intentional with that connection. Avoid jargon or specialized language that people might not know, and also avoid slang or things that would be used in more casual conversations. Now, within our language, there are very specific stylized uses that can help you to enhance the message. Metaphors and similes are two of my favorites. A metaphor is a comparison, but it doesn't use like or as, whereas similes utilize like or as. So the storm is a beast versus the storm is as fierce as a beast. Alliteration is also a catchy way to capture people's attention, like pretty pink poinsettia. Alliteration starts with the same initial repeating sound. Now, there's other structures that you can utilize language to vividly enhance the words that you are sharing. Antithesis is a rhetorical strategy that contrasts different statements and ideas. Parallel structures where you use the same phrase or clause to repeat ideas. And then personalized language is there as well. Using inclusive language, you, we, us, to make people feel part of your speech. We want to be ethical and accurate with our language as well. Remember that language is culturally transmitted. So when I think of the word tree, I think of what we see in the Chicago suburbs. We see big leafy maple trees. But if I lived in Washington State, I might think of huge redwoods. Or, for example, if it's Christmas time or the holiday time, I might think of a Christmas tree. So make sure you're considering language and cultural experiences to help make your messages inclusive for all. Now, you definitely want to avoid language pitfalls that include profanity, exaggeration or hyperbole, or powerless language that communicates uncertainty, such as, I think so, don't you think? Maybe we should. We want to avoid using these qualifiers that sometimes we use to make people feel included or if we're not sure of our ideas, but in a speech you want to be sure. Avoid incorrect grammar or improper grammar and cliches as well. Now, how do we deliver our verbal messages? We need to adjust our volume, make sure we're enunciating, speaking at an appropriate pace that's not too fast or not too slow. We also want to use pausing intentionally. A pause, an elongated pause, can be very dramatic and very impactful. We want to be authentic and conversational as well. Remember, our purpose is to make our audiences see what we saw, hear what we heard, feel what we felt. Relevant details, couched in concrete, colorful language is the best way to recreate the incident as it happened and to picture it for the audience. So, as you're thinking back on what we talked about today, pretend that your friend was absent from class. What would you share with them? How would you use your words to capture the overall message of this chapter? If you have time, I definitely highly recommend watching The Power of Words. This is one of my favorite speeches, and it's definitely one that has a lot of impact on the influence of our word choices. I believe in the power of words, and I hope after this chapter you do